Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Knight of the Podcast. Whoa!
Bunnies aren't just cute like everybody supposes. They've got those hoppy legs and twitchy little noses. And what's with all the carrots? What do they need such good eyesight for anyway? Bunnies, it must be bunnies. Or maybe midgets. Troy, name that song.
I have no clue. Is it from Lindsay Lohan's self-titled debut album?
It could very well be. It could very well be. But no, it is. This is like a deep cut. This is from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Once More with Feeling, the like notorious musical episode that they did that is truly like one of the greatest like televised musical episodes ever. You know who that was sung by is the character of Anya, who was played by none other than Emma Caulfield, who is the star of the film that we are discussing today. So it's very specific.
Wow.
But I like to think that people who like Buffy, they're diehards, they're going to get that reference. I hope.
I mean, look, come on, look what we're bringing you. I don't think there's no other podcast that brings you this much depth to our episodes. And you know, Emma Caulfield, right? Bless her. I mean, the range she shows in this film, incredible.
Troy. Listen, I'm a fan of Emma Caulfield, but I'm going to say it right now. I have been wanting to cover this movie for a while, and I feel like it is something that keeps coming up. I didn't know there's so many people who love this film. I really think it has to be a generational thing. I saw this film in theaters. I have a very vivid memory of watching it in theaters. I own it on VHS. And then I'd say for probably like 15 years, I haven't seen this movie. I'm going to just say it right now. I have not seen this movie since maybe like the age of like 25, roughly around that. It has been a long time since I've watched this movie. And I was so excited to revisit this because I just don't remember a lot about it at all. And like now coming back and revisiting it, my goodness, time has not necessarily been kind to this film, but nostalgia is going to have a big input on like my reaction. I will say that it was super nostalgic for me to watch this movie.
I buy that because I do think that, you know, the kind of our listener range, the age range of our listeners probably lends itself to around your age. So people that were teenagers when this film came out. And so it is going to have some nostalgia attached to it. It's much like a lot of the 80s, admittedly terrible slasher films that I love. One of the reasons I love them is the nostalgia factor. So I do think there's a lot of people that probably hold this film in high regard because of the nostalgia factor. That was one of the first movies they saw in theaters, whatnot. I can tell you, because last week, remember when I said I wasn't sure if I saw this? I can tell you with 100% certainty I'd never seen this.
Oh, good.
So I was going in not really knowing what to expect. And boy, as I mentioned to you before we started this is going to be either our quickest episode ever or our longest episode ever, because I don't know what to say. The movie, I don't know if you want to dive right into it. We're talking about Darkness Falls. I know, Roger, I know for a fact that you've wanted to cover this forever. You mentioned covering this to me, I think, like when we first started the podcast. So I know this has been right on your plate for a long time. So I'm glad we're finally getting to talk about it. Is there anything you want to kind of shout out or anything before we get into the film, or do you just want to dive right in?
Just our listeners. I fucking love you. God, we love you so much. Look at you sticking around. Good things come to those who wait. Because I have been talking about this for a long time. I've been really eager to discuss this, and I think I've been hyping them up. I've been kind of, I've been teasing y'all, and I've been tingling you and tickling your buttholes, and then no, 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 no darkness falls, and then tickle, tickle, I mention it, and then no, I don't get you to nut. Well, today I think you're all going to get your nut when we talk, when we talk about Darkness Falls, because knowing that Troy has never seen Darkness Falls, like, who boy, I know, I think I know what to expect here. I have a gut feeling, but I want to go through this with you. I hope it's a roller coaster of emotions for you, Troy.
I mean, it's a roller coaster of something. I really tried to kind of grasp what I was going to say about the film because I'm just going to say, like, this film to me, I know this was 2002, so it was before AI, but God, I think this film, the biggest problem with this film is the script. And I swear to God, like, this script feels like it was written, like, this is a script that would be written by AI.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it's because there is zero nuance to this script, zero depth. Everything is telling, not showing. And like nothing that I don't know if you're going to understand what I'm trying to say here because I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to verbalize what I'm talking about because I've never seen it. I've never seen this in a film so blatantly. It's like where there is nothing, everything that happens is so like there's no build up to it. It just happens because it has to happen because we have to get this plot going. There's no, I mean, things just happen with no explanation. It's just like, oh, we got to move to the next scene. Here we go. Let's just make it happen. I kept thinking, slow down. I want to know, are we trying to build anything here? There's a really cool mythology, I guess. And I was really ticked off at the beginning of the film because you have this really cool story about Matilda Dixon, but we're told it. We're not shown anything. It's a voiceover. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? In a film that is barely a feature, let's be honest, the only reason this film is a feature is because the credits are 12 minutes long. You could not, the closing credits are 12 minutes long, literally 12 minutes long. You could not have shown anything, any of that great mythology that builds this character. I was like, what the fuck? And then it just got worse from there.
This is a film that I think is a clear example of like studio meddling at its worst for an array of reasons. This film, I think, when this film went into production, I'm thoroughly convinced. Well, I'm positive it was a completely like a different project, you know. And I really think that this is something that the journey from pre-production to post, I think a lot was left not just on the cutting room floor, just ideas and concepts and important like that kind of developmental tissue that you need to really tell a story properly on screen gone. And I think that, you know, this is a film that has an idea of it wants to be, but it doesn't have an identity. And that comes down to all aspects of this movie. Like the characters, the characters are so one dimensional. Like I've not watched a film in a very long time in which the characters felt so paper thin. And I say that a lot, but truthfully, aside from the purpose that the characters serve to the story specifically, I know nothing else about them at all. You're talking about nuance. Like, what if we knew a little bit about these characters? What if I knew, I don't know, what Caitlin's job is? Something. Give me something. But there is nothing that we are given to develop these individuals beyond the story that we are telling. And so, like, I think that this is a film that truthfully was probably in development hell, and down to the fact that I know that one of the things that this film is most notoriously known for is the design element of the creature itself. Like, we have to acknowledge going into this, there needs to be a little bit of discussion about this movie before we review it, because I think that there were some really, really poor choices made leading up to the completion of this film. And the gravest error was the departure from the original design for what is the Tooth Fairy. And it's clear that in that design, when you look at the design by Steve Wang, um, that was very like supernatural, fantastical. It had a lot more going on than what the final iteration has. I think that it's clear that the story had to adjust for that visual. So to me, I feel a lot of this lore, this background that we're given on the Tooth Fairy was kind of just haphazardly thrown together, very last minute and like woven together. And that's why we only get a narrator, because both the opening scene of this film and the ending scene of this film feel just tagged on there. with no care or thought to what the actual story is. And it's a bummer that her backstory, while intriguing, truly, really doesn't have much impact on what's happening overall. Like, when it comes to her overall, like, mythology and how she operates as an entity, there's no rules. Like, sometimes she's physical, sometimes she's a ghost. Like, there's no rules here.
Well, and that's one of the biggest plot holes in the film is realistically, there should be like no humans left in this town. I mean, if she's killing people when they lose their first tooth, that's something everyone goes through. You would think that the town would be dead, or it would be much more wider known that these children are being slaughtered, and it would be an issue. But when you flash forward, nobody acts like they even know this is going on. They think he's crazy for talking about it. But if you're trying to tell me that this woman stalks and kills everybody that loses their first tooth, right there, their last baby tooth. I'm sorry, their last baby. Then there'd be no, that right there. That's, everyone would be dead. And they try to throw little lines in there, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Everyone would be stalked by this woman. Why wasn't fucking what's her name stalked by this woman when she lost her last baby tooth? What about Larry? Why wasn't he stalked? I mean, it makes zero sense. If all they had to do to remedy that is do something like, oh, well, Matilda, she stalks people that lose their last baby tooth that have her same initials or something like that made it a little bit more specific. But nope.
Troy, aside from, well, first of all, I don't even know, because the mythology all over the place. Like, does this woman or does she not require teeth in order to kill? But that aside, like, she's just killing random people.
She's killing random people. She's darting around like a goddamn spirit Halloween decoration, flying through the fucking air. So ridiculous. And then, yes, the porcelain mask, horrible choice. I did have the pleasure from you and one of our podcast supporters and past guest co-host, Chris Archeski, when he found out we were covering this, he sent me the original creature design, as you did as well today, and it looks so much better. This is horrible. Like, I can't believe people looked at this design and thought, oh, this is what we're going with. It's really terrible. But again, the biggest crime, I mean, the film commits a lot of crimes, but right off the bat, I was expecting, you get this voiceover about basically Matilda and her lore. 150 years ago, she was adored by all the children, and every time the children would lose their last baby tooth, she would give them a gold coin. And I kept waiting to see this play out. And then, her house caught on fire, her face burned. Why didn't I get to see that? We don't. We just hear this voice. And the town turned against her because she was hideous, and then like 2 kids went missing, and so the town immediately responds by tracking this poor old woman down and hanging her. And then, like, the next day, the kids show up, just like, oh, here we are. And so they hung this poor woman. And before she died, she basically put a curse on the town that said that what she took before in kindness, she's going to take now in revenge. So every time someone loses their last baby tooth, she's going to come after them. That's the lore. It's cool, but it is literally like a 6-minute voiceover with nothing going on.
Listen, the voiceover, honestly, the voiceover is great. If you like a Disney, like, mythology, if you like that, the voice, he sounds great. My problem is already from the story, from the get-go, we've already got problems. This story has more holes in it than a piece of Swiss cheese. I don't know what the fuck is going on. This myth about her, or this urban legend, even this, they're like, well, she was a tooth fairy, and so she just gave kids coins for their teeth. That alone is weird. But then she had a house fire, so she got burned horribly, and everyone thought she was terrifying. So then 2 kids go missing, but for some reason she is blamed for it, not elaborated on. It's not like they're like, and the children's footprints led to her home. No, there's nothing given as to why this poor burn victim is being harassed by the townspeople, and then they kill her and she puts a curse. My problem is A, if she's given gold coins, you're just throwing out this bit piece here. I really feel like the legend of the actual legend of the tooth exchange for coins should be playing into the story more. You don't get a lot of it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Her being the tooth fairy really isn't like the main theme in this movie. It's just like kind of a concept they touch on once in a while. Every once in a while, you see a tooth. And then B, my bigger gripe, who's this dame to be casting spells and placing curses? And it's not explained to me at all. It's not like there's a book of magic or, oh, she was a witch. No, it just happens to be casually thrown out there that she places a curse on the town, and that's it. And it's never explored. It's never explained. Like she just places this curse. She's got this ability, and that's all it is. It's not explored at all.
Yeah, it's just casually up. She plays the curse, and then but the curse turns her into some like fucking mini rocket that has superhuman. It's so weird. Like the villain just doesn't really fit an elderly old woman who was burned to death. Like she's zipping around 300 miles an hour, lifting cars off the street. Like I was like, what is this really? But okay, so we got this opening lore. We cut to modern day or whatever, close to modern day in terms of the beginning of the film, I guess, because we're introduced to a young boy named Kyle, who we see he's in the mirror. He just lost his tooth. He spits out the blood.
Only blood you get in the movie.
Only blood you get in the movie.
This is it.
Later that night, he has a little interaction with his mom. She wants to know if he's asking Caitlin to the dance. He gets up. His mom leaves him. He gets up, puts the tooth on the dresser. Here's something outside. Another thing that I got really fucking sick of real quick were just these very blatant jump scares. Like all of a sudden, Caitlin's in the window, and you get this loud. It's a jump scare. We get tons of them, and so she comes in and asks him if he wants to go swimming. No. So she sits next to him on the bed. They end up kissing. She gets a little bit of blood on her lips. And I guess it's a cute exchange about him bringing up the dance. And she says, well, I already told my mom that you're going to be over at 7 p.m. on Saturday so that she can drive us. Perfect. They kiss again because she tells him their first kiss should be sweet, not bloody. It's kind of gross. The first kiss, she got blood in her mouth and she's just like, ew. She like licks it off. I'm like, honey, you're like 12. Like this is kind of not something. Yes.
To be specific, they're 10. That's important.
Well, and it's only 12 years later and they both look 40, but we'll get to that.
A big topic here in a second.
We'll get to that. So she puts his tooth under the bed and she leaves. Later that night, he's woken up and you get this whole sequence with the tooth fairy coming into his room. And again, this is obviously a legend that all the kids know, right? Because he sleeps with the flashlight next to his bed because when she does finally appear and he pulls the covers open, he's able to shine the flashlight in its eye and run out of the room. He runs into get his mom. And I hear people like I've read, after I watched the film, I was like scrolling through and I kept reading a couple comments about how this opening scene is so terrifying. And I'm like, are you serious? Maybe if you're like 6, but everything like happens so quickly. There's no suspense. Like the mother literally is like, oh, I'm going to go check in your room. She walks down the hall, peeks in the room, turns around, says, see, nothing to be afraid of. And then boom, the thing flies out, grabs her. That's it. He runs into the bathroom, watches it drag his mom away. He's in the bath. For some reason, Roger, the whole house is dark except this bathroom. Somehow the lights work in this bathroom, nowhere else. And he's hiding in the bathtub and she can't come in because she doesn't like the light. We have to remember that. That's a big point. She doesn't like the light. And you do get that kind of cool shot of the camera pulling away and you see him through the door sitting in the bathtub. And then you see the creature kind of hanging on the ceiling above the door. It's a cool visual. The CGI obviously hasn't aged well. So that's pretty much that's a big issue. I do not find this opening scene scary. I actually find it quite, it just happens so fast. The filmmaker doesn't maybe again, maybe studio interference or whatever, but doesn't understand like letting things linger and how to build suspense. Like everything in this film just happens so fast.
I could have used 10 more minutes in this movie just
Yeah.
developing suspense properly, establishing moments because like you said this a little bit ago, but the biggest problem for me overall is that the film is on autopilot. It never takes a risk. It never changes pacing. It's always just kind of like putting along. And so, like, whenever a moment of fear or suspense is introduced, all of a sudden she's just there. And, like, you kind of just, oh, okay, I guess she's just present. I could hear her having her asthma attack. One thing we need to note, she's a very distinct audio.
Yeah.
You hear her sound design the whole time. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's irritating. She's shrieking, she's wheezing, she's dying. I think my biggest gripe overall is so you establish here, that she's coming for teeth and she doesn't like the light. And these two things feel very disconnected. Like, for me, if they were like, okay, this is the tooth fairy and she is coming for teeth and she also, I don't know, be only defeated with like fluoride. I don't know. Like, I mean, like, at least it feels it feels tied to the realm of dental work, which I guess I'm looking for like consistency or coherency here. It's all part of the dental realm. Her not liking the light, I guess it's because she was set on fire by that house. But it's not really something, it's not there like, and she like her eyes were burned, and so the light irritated her. She just doesn't like the light. We come to have to accept that. And she just also, like it said, she doesn't like when people look at her. So, like, once you've seen her, she's going to kill you. And that also feels very disconnected. Like, she wants teeth, she doesn't like the light, and you can't look at her or else she's going to kill you. And these three things are just, we're supposed to accept these are the rules and nothing else.
Well, we never see her like go after the teeth. She doesn't want the teeth. She just zips in the room and pulls people away. And yeah, the whole, oh, if you see her, she's going to come after you until she kills you. I mean, come on. 12 years later, she's still coming after this kid. Okay. The film, oh yeah, after the lackluster shit we've gotten so far, I had to really contain more of my anger because I've mentioned this in the past. I mentioned it with the Mikey episode. Being a huge true crime fan, a true crime buff, I have zero tolerance for how certain things are portrayed in movies. And so what we find out is that Kyle is taken away and put into a mental hospital because everyone thinks he killed his mother. I'm like, this woman was thrown up in the air, slammed down on the floor. Like, you're trying to tell me that forensics couldn't figure out that this woman was not murdered by her 10-year-old child? Apparently, they don't even do an investigation, Roger, because he spends the next 12 years in a mental asylum because he killed his mother, apparently. This happens. This poor guy throughout the film is getting arrested left and right with no like due process or anything. They're just willy-nilly arresting. I'm like, it's so fake. I was irritated there too.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that whatever robot wrote this script also doesn't know how these things work. From everything to do with like any police subplot that exists here. There are several characters who are police officers, and it's very like lightly explored because I feel like they just didn't know how to write for that. So, I don't know. I just feel like the writer here clearly had to be kind of green, and their weaknesses really come through in how they handle it. I do want to acknowledge it's Emily Browning playing young Kat.
It is.
Who we know from Ghost Ship. We love her. She's always welcome here. Little tidbits, but overall, yeah, the opening sequence and what comes from it is a bit of a letdown now after revisiting it. The thing that sucks is every once in a while, Tori, there is a shot, a visual that is really cool to me. Like you said, the shot of her over the door. There's a beat of that actually feels cool for a split second. There's something there, but I feel like they had all these little specific shots they really wanted to have, and they didn't care how they strung it together. That's how it's feeling,
Yeah, but again, I want to wrap my mind around how this legend is playing out because this town, like you would think numerous people would have been murdered in this town by now. So the idea that they're going to latch on and say, oh, this little 10-year-old kid killed his mother. Your whole town, sir, should have a history of people being brutally murdered if this legend is true. Right. It's just like this legend is like only specific for this one character, and it doesn't seem to apply to anybody else. And I really had a hard time with that. I kept thinking this just doesn't make much sense. You do get, he's being let out. He's being put in the back of a cop car as poor Caitlin's watching him, and you get that really weird dissolve from her 10-year-old face to now her 22-year-old face. Hey, Emma Caulfield, I love her, but like she looks 40 in this. Like she looks 40. For them to do that fade and then have a thing that says 12 years later and her sitting there looking like a soccer mom, it didn't work.
Well, and the problem is these characters, I feel like they almost forgot that they wrote 12 years in the script. Like, I feel like, again, like I feel like someone was not doing their job here, because even down to the costumes, like everybody, it's not like they just cast older actors playing these roles. She's dressed matronly. Like she looks like
frumpy.
like a Jehovah's Witness is what I would describe her on her apparel over the course of the film. The guy who she's seeing, which we barely would know that because he doesn't really do anything at all. His name is Larry, and he is, I think, like an attorney, and he looks like he's 46. Like, and they dress him that way. Like, these characters do not look 22, and it's very clearly stated this all happened. It's 12 years later. They were 10 when it happened. They would be 22. It does not make sense. And it's glaring at this point. Like, now watching it at this point, it's a glaring flaw to me that really it affects the storyline for me. It does.
Big time. Yeah. And again, it was just, it really was blatant when they did the fade in from Emily Browning to Emma Caulfield. And you see like, oh, this is a huge age difference, but then it says 12 years later. And I'm like, what? But we find out, and I did not realize this until the second viewing. I feel kind of stupid. I thought at first, the first viewing, the whole film, Roger, the first time, I watched these multiple times. The first time I watched this, I thought this was her son. Michael was her son. But it's her little brother. Again, a huge age difference, which is weird because this kid has to be 8 himself. And I get it. People have huge age gaps between siblings, but it's kind of weird. But he's in the hospital because he can't sleep. And the doctor's telling her that he may have nyctophobia. They've done CAT scans. They've done all this stuff. And basically, he's just suffering from really bad night terrors. And they all of a sudden they hear this kid wailing. So they rush in and he's all freaking out because this nurse was trying to shut the blinds. And now he has become deathly afraid of the dark, and we do see that he has like scratches on his arm. So again, this is happening. Like,
you're going to say,
it's happening. It's had to have happened to everybody, right, in this town.
Yeah, but it's treated like it's so. Oh my God, what could it be? Mm-hmm. But this urban legend is clearly something. They open the fucking movie with it, but nobody acknowledges it in the town. But it seems to be like something that the town is rooted in. And eventually later in the film, it's kind of acknowledged that people have gone missing and things like that before. But it's so disjointed. It's dislocated. It doesn't feel at all connected with anything that was told to us in the beginning. I feel like if we wouldn't have gotten that opening urban legend, this film could have existed on its own and just done its own thing and not relied on any of that backstory because it's never really brought up again.
So from this scene, now we find out that her little brother is suffering the same night terrors and stuff. We cut to the Las Vegas Strip. Woohoo!
Okay.
2002 Las Vegas Strip. We now see that Kyle is
hot as fuck.
It's hot as fuck. Yes, absolutely. He is now living in a studio apartment where he basically spends his days apparently collecting flashlights and taking a bunch of antipsychotic meds. And I want to stop and acknowledge something that again, tidbit that's kind of creepy that Chris Archeski, our faithful listener, messaged me. The actor who plays Kyle, his name's Chaney Cray, actually died about 4 years after this film. But you want to know the creepy thing, Roger? He died in his sleep from sleep apnea complications.
She fucking got him, is the thing. It makes me feel like I shouldn't say that, but God, like that's too specific.
Right?
Oh my God. We underestimate her fucking abilities. No, that's wild. Oh my God. He's so handsome.
He is so fucking hot. He is so fucking hot. And yeah, when I saw that, I was like, are you serious? And you go to his IMDb. Yes, he passed away. And it stated very clearly from complications of sleep apnea. Ooh.
7.
Yeah.
The year of Nelly Furtado. We keep coming
Nelly
back.
Furtado.
Oh my God. She haunts us. Just like the Tooth Fairy. What's her name again? Matilda
Dixon.
Matilda fucking Dixon, that old bitch. I want to step back real quick before we get to this, because I think this is really, really important here too, Troy. And I just want to acknowledge, we comment on this moment in the hospital where the kid wakes up. You've got the storyline that's set up regarding Kat and her relationship with her brother. It's explained to us, it's told to us. Why don't we see an incident with Michael and Matilda Dixon that leads to him going to the hospital? I understand, like, they want to keep the story moving, but you got some fucking spare time. This is a brief story. And I really feel like there's so many opportunities here to have had, like, moments that would have been some great exposition work, but also potential for, I don't know, tying the story together and giving us some scares in the meanwhile. And, like, doesn't it just feel to you so abrupt that we come into it and all of this has already been established?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was kind of everything just is happening because it needs to happen to move this paper thin plot along. And again, it's just one thing after another that I'm having a hard time buying as being realistic, because what she does now is she all of a sudden, out of the blue, because it seems like she hasn't talked to him since this happened, but somehow she since his mother was killed, it seems like she hasn't talked to him in 12 years. She somehow knows his phone number. B thinks to call him. She calls him and he's even like, who the fuck is this? And she's like, it's Caitlin. Remember, you were supposed to take me to the dance and you never did. And she calls him to tell him about her brother not being able to sleep. Why the fuck would she think he gives a rat's ass about this? But apparently, she says, I know that before what happened to your mother happened, you said you were having some trouble sleeping. Ma'am, consult a doctor. You're calling some random guy you haven't talked to in 12 years and asking him for medical advice.
I have one line that she says where she's like, you've been very hard to track down. She does say, like, she makes it sound like she's been trying to connect with him, which I think maybe softens the blow of what you're saying a little bit. Because I don't see it, because I don't see the buildup of desperation for her, we just come right into it. It feels, again, extremely abrupt. You're just reintroduced to this relationship.
I don't buy it. And I'm going to tell you why here in a second, okay? Yeah, so she's like, I just need to know, like, how you got over what happened to your mom. What should I do with my brother? And he's like, well, I didn't get over what happened to my mom. And we see that this fucker has painted porcelain faces all over his apartment wall, because of course he does. And then, like, I want to know why we don't see it. We don't see him trying to think this over. Like, should I go help this gal? What should I? Nope, because the very next scene, he's at the hospital. He's there.
Do we know where Darkness Falls is? Do we even know where it's based out of?
I would think, for some reason, I got a New England vibe. That's
a hole.
He's in
from Las Vegas, Nevada.
But he just shows up. And he goes into Michael's room, and Michael's sitting on the floor. We see his reflection in this metal grate. And they have this conversation where Michael's like, oh, my sister says that when you grow up, you're not scared of the dark anymore. Michael says, she's going to kill me, she's going to get me. And Kyle says, who? You know who. This kid is kind of creepy. And this kid really does look like he's been through the fucking ringer already.
He also has a very pronounced lisp, which I
Mhm.
love.
Mhm.
I love a cherub with a lisp. And he, like, when he talks, he's like, Caitlin, no, Caitlin, no. Like his voice is just like very like squeaky and shrill. And I'm a fan of this child as much as I'm going to be a fan of a child in a movie in general. Like, I mean, like he ain't given an award-winning performance, but he's given it his all things considered. They've got this little moment here, and like even this feels like something that should be kind of like, okay, give this movie a pulse, give these two some connectivity, make it so that Kyle becomes extra defensive of the child, show them form like a relationship. Even with him and Caitlin, though, Kyle, I'm assuming, is coming back because he had feelings for her because it was hinted at, but you never see it again. They don't have any fucking moments really together until the finale. I mean, they got a couple interactions, but there's no developing romance. They don't get to have any personal moments that really feel like they're building anything. It's all just for the sake of the story. And we're not getting any like just human interactions that we need to care about these people. So I don't feel like they do care about each other, you know?
Well, that and there's zero chemistry between the two of them, which is surprising. But there's no chemistry. And then when I said that I don't buy it, it's because like the script wants us, or the scenarios that the script is putting these two characters in really wants to make us believe that they are like really in love with each other, that they're like, star-crossed lovers. They were destined to be together, but they never got the chance because of what happened with his mother. That's how it's presented. But neither one of them, especially her, seems like she could give a shit less about the other one. You're right. There's no moments where she shows him any affection, where she's like, oh, I need to. And in fact, here coming up, she has the opportunity to go out and have a nice dinner with him. And instead, she chooses not to even have anything to do with him. I never feel like these two characters really like each other all that much.
Well, there's a moment later even where he gets like taken away by the police and she almost like kind of just lets it happen. They don't really go out on a limb for one another. It's not even like you get the vibe that this is this really strong friendship at one point, which in the opening scene, I feel like that was at least implied. They feel very disconnected. And you're right. It feels like she just could give two shits about him, which then feels uncomfortable that she would have been called out to him to begin with. What's your goal of bringing him back here?
Well, and she knows what he's been through. So this what she says to him in this scene, because basically, she comes in the room, they hug. She takes him out of the room so that they can talk, and he asks her if Michael has lost a tooth recently, and she says yes, his last one. And he makes the comment, well, then she's probably gonna come after him. And she says, oh my God, you don't believe in that stupid old urban legend, do you? Well, ma'am, you would know half your town has been murdered. I mean, if this is a thing, you would know all these children have been murdered, but she's acting like this is the first time she's ever heard of it. And he gets annoyed that she's like, because she's kind of making, like, she's kind of talking down to him, like condescending, like, oh, how would you still believe in that? So he's like, you know what? This was a mistake. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Again, they act like they could give a shit less about each other. And then this random 40-year-old lawyer who was supposed to be, did you notice he's supposed to be the kid in the opening scene that she was standing with? And he's like, oh, Caitlin, welcome back, Kyle. And he hugs him, and it's insinuated that him and Caitlin are dating, but she doesn't even act like she's interested in him. I think Caitlin's like, I don't know. Like this girl, I think Emma Caulfield knew the script was trash and she wasn't even, I don't know, because she doesn't seem to have chemistry with anybody. She seems bored half the time. She doesn't want to, I feel like she doesn't want to be there.
Let's talk about Caitlin in general, though, Troy. Like, let's take a moment. I think we really need to unpack the biggest gripe I have in the sense of overall characterization issues for this film. The elephant in the room is truthfully like this is one of the worst quote unquote final girls we've had ever. I mean, and it's not even the actress's fault. I would have been pissed off too because I feel like if I would have really gotten to sit down with the script and realize that nothing that happens over the course of the film she does nothing to in any way try to assist, help, fight back. She is literally just there, present. And it's not she gets a moment of glory. Like really, she's just a sack of potatoes and kind of like a dumpy one at that. She's not really like doing anything. And poor Emma Caulfield, if I were her, I would have been like, fuck man, like why? Why would I even put anything into this? I'm just a plot tool, really. She's just a plot device to connect the kid and Kyle. Other than that, they just didn't write anything for her favor at all. Like she doesn't have any moments of romance with Larry. She doesn't have any developing romances or anything with Kyle. She doesn't have like a parental figure in the movie she gets to interact with. It's just her. She cares about the brother. That's endearing, but that's all I know about her. And it really just makes this character really like, kind of a wet blanket.
Yeah, I think you mentioned one-dimensional, and definitely a one-dimensional character. And I mean, it's not her fault. I would be bored with this role too. I just feel like she's not doing anything extra to give the character any sort of charisma or I don't nuance. It was just it's such a flat character. And like I said, when she's on screen with other people, like she has no chemistry with them. And this Larry guy, wherever the fuck he came from, he wants to take them out to dinner. And again, she says no, even though, bitch, you called Kyle. He had just hiked his ass 2,000 miles to lollygag with your sick brother, and you won't even go to dinner with him. So Kyle has to go to dinner, or they don't go to dinner. He ends up taking him to a bar, even though Kyle multiple times says, I don't drink. Larry takes him to this loud biker bar. You got broads spilling beer on their boozles, and you can see their nipples through their t-shirt. I mean, this looks like a gay old time, Roger.
It looks like a real good time. I mean, and it's luckily it's one time in the movie that we're not either in a hospital or a lighthouse. So we're at a bar, brief moment. And I mean, I guess what I guess I'm supposed to come to understand here is first, as we've touched on multiple times, nobody in this town seems to believe in the Tooth Fairy, though she is a constant looming presence at all times. Like, and so I guess we're supposed to believe that his returning to town has agitated the Tooth Fairy. Like, she starts making herself present. She's flashing around. She's swooping by windows. She's peeking from around corners. Like, she's looking. And he's sitting there, and he's uncomfortable. And there's this dude, Ray, and he's like, there's that guy that killed his mom. I'm like, no, dude. The very obvious Tooth Fairy who's taken the lives of all of your classmates. I'm convinced you're the last one standing. You're the only people left in this town. That woman killed his mom as well. And I don't think it's that too far off of an idea for you to believe it by now. But he is really insulted by Kyle's presence in this bar. And he confronts him.
It comes out of nowhere. Like,
out of nowhere.
Kyle's just sitting there, and Larry's kind of like, oh, I hope you're over Caitlin, because you really, you screwed her life up. I'm like, how? Larry's like, she was never the same after you left, and nobody could get close to her because all she wanted was you. Excuse me, sir. She wouldn't even come to dinner with you with them. So don't feed me that shit. But yeah, this fucking Ray, in the most cliched way possible, comes over to the table and is like, what are you doing here, you freak? We don't want freaks here. And poor Kyle's like, I just want to be left alone. And Ray takes his beer and dumps it on him. And of course, Kyle's not going to fight back because this guy's like twice his size. But instead, he goes outside to stand on the porch of the bar, and you hear a noise. I mean, you know that this Tooth Fairy is floating around because he's seen images of her and stuff. But then another fucking jump scare of Ray comes burling out of the bar and crashes into Kyle, busting the banister, and they both go rolling into the fucking woods. This is violent. This is a violent man. This is a violent reaction to somebody just being in a bar trying to have a good time. Like, you're gonna really barrel through a fucking banister of a railing for what? Like, the guy did nothing to you.
Yeah, just out of nowhere, he goes over the fucking banister. They go rolling down this ravine. These two men, and then Ray gets up on top of Kyle. Kyle looks over, and then just there off in the distance, there's sweet Matilda. Hovering. She hovers like no other. This broad, she's got tendrils. She's got ribbony tendrils. There's a lot of things going on with her, and none of them feel of any importance or really stand for anything. She's in this black shroud, and she's watching. And he starts screaming, and he starts punching Ray, and his reaction is to get up and go running. And he goes running off into the woods, and Ray is like, "Fuck you, get out of my town." And there's this moment, he's like standing there proud of himself, like he really did something. And then, like a bat out of hell, this old gal zips by so fast. Like, Troy, it's a blink and you miss it. And this guy gets picked up. It's like the fucking flying monkeys. She comes by, and in my words, she doesn't kill people. She literally sweeps them off their feet. She's sweeping people off their feet, and she's taking them somewhere. I don't know where. She's taking them off into the night sky, screaming and shrieking. My big gripe here is, like, there was that era of PG-13 horror films that was really like, let's skimp on the horror and just fill it with a lot of excess. This is an example of that at its worst. This movie clearly wanted to take some beats and inspirations from films like The Ring, films that come before it, which is a truly, masterful piece of cinema. And it took like the core basic elements of it, and it tied it together with this really sloppy storyline and a really kind of lackluster villain. And so when it comes down to the moments you're really waiting for to see this sheet woman like actually enact some terror upon people, their way of getting out of it is by making them just zip off like so quickly. You barely see it. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? And it is really, it's like, at first, the first time you see it, I remember in the movie theater, first time you see this, it's like, oh, cool. By the end of the movie, it's extremely frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, I think her method of killing them is what? She just drops them? I was trying to figure it out. They might have a scratch on their face, but I think the manner of death is she just drops them from hundreds of feet in the air. And again, remember, I also want to reiterate, like, the lore. This is just supposed to be some old woman that was scorned because the town set her on fire unjustly, and now all of a sudden she's just like fucking supernatural, flying at the speed of fucking jet planes. It just, again, the lore doesn't fit the villain either, and I think that's a big problem.
Is that the lore across the board? She's also supposed to be wanting teeth, but she ain't taking nobody's teeth. There's no point in this film where this broad takes someone's teeth. You tell me you're giving me a movie called The Tooth Fairy, and she ain't at least taking one person's teeth, ripping them out or something. But this movie doesn't want to show blood, is the thing. Like, there's so
zero.
little even blood in this.
Zero.
So, like, she sure as hell ain't taking teeth. And nor are we tying in the gold coins they mentioned. At least, maybe, I don't know, everyone who dies, there's a gold coin or something. No, like, nothing ties back in. She's just mad people are seeing her because of her burned skin, and she's dropping them from the sky like the fucking house in the Wizard of Oz, just dropping them down. And so Ray comes crashing into the ground, and you're right, he's got a couple scratches on his face. He lands on Larry, but, like, you don't see anything.
Here's another thing, is all of a sudden Larry is out in the fucking middle of the woods with the whole fucking police squad. I'm like, what? How? Why would you get all the police involved? Because literally all Kyle did was leave. Like, in Larry's mind, Kyle just left. But now all of a sudden he has all the cops there, including Matt. Whew. Okay. I needed a moment where Matt and Kyle just really just fucking made out, because both of them are hot as fuck. Yes. Yeah. I was waiting for it. So Deputy Matt is out there searching, and yeah, they can hear Ray screaming. So Deputy Matt runs in the direction with the rest of his cops, and Larry's just standing there being like, oh, I'm a man. I can't be scared. I shouldn't be scared. I'm a grown man. Yeah. And all of a sudden fucking Ray's body is dropped right on top of him.
Very PG-13, very fucking PG-13. It's a letdown, because in a more effective film, this guy would have dropped from the sky with his organs hanging out, or again, his jaw ripped open, something tooth oriented. I don't like teeth, but if you're telling me Tooth Fairy, give me some teeth. And then we got this weird fucking moment, Troy, where Caitlin is reading fairy It's not fairy tales. What is it, like
Yeah,
fairy
it's fairy tales.
fairy? It's fairy tales, but they like have this really weird term for it, like fairy
Fables or I can't remember. I know what yeah. I thought it was fairy tales
fairy
and
fables.
fairy fable, something like that.
But here's the thing. Here's my problem. It's you're telling me you don't believe in this lore about the fucking tooth fairy, but this fairy tale or this fairy fable is enough to make it into this fucking illustrated book in which it's very specifically told the story of how to defeat this specific iteration of the tooth fairy. And it's not like she's playing by fairy tale tooth fairy rules, which I don't even think those exist. But somehow there's a book that has like this whole story about her being defeated by the light, and it seems very specific and tailored to the film we're watching. But like, it's not. Where the fuck do you find this book? What is this book? What is this random story about the tooth fairy that she's reading? And where did she get it? Like, it's just out of nowhere.
And guess what? It doesn't matter because we don't ever hear about it again. She never touches the book again. She doesn't mention it. She doesn't mention it to Kyle. She doesn't like, hey, look in this book. There's the story about what you're talking about. Maybe there is some truth to this. Kyle comes waltzing in. I want to know how close this hospital is to everything because it seems like every character in this film can get to the hospital within seconds. I don't know how big
including the fucking ghost.
Exactly. I don't know how big but he's at the hospital. He's waddling in. He comes in. She notices he's bleeding, and he has like gravel embedded in his scalp. And she takes the tweezers and starts picking it out while she's asking him about what he's been up to the last 12 years. Apparently, he he's been in Vegas. He works at a casino. Then he asks her if she's seeing Larry, and she says, "Well, why do you want to know that?" And then he just changes the subject. He's like, "Well, you know what? Don't let them do any more tests on Michael. I had every test done to me imaginable. Nothing helped." And then suddenly the police show up, Deputy Matt, and they arrest him for murdering Ray. With what evidence? Like, what is the one piece of evidence that you have that you can literally arrest this man for and say that he killed Ray? But they do. They arrest him, take him to jail.
And they take him to the most like stereotypical cliche, like one prison cell jail set that I've seen in like every cheap movie ever. Like it just looks like the same prison set you've seen in all these other films that have the same kind of idea. But it's like a one cell prison, but there's like 70 police officers. I think like when it comes down to it, this place is brimming with cops. So it's so rushed. And I mean the whole thing. We keep saying it's rushed, but I really would think that with this whole moment with Ray, somebody would step in and be like, whoa, like let's at least consider different options of what happened. First of all, Ray attacked him. So that was witnessed. Ray was actually pursuing him and he left. So, I mean, even if it was anything like self-defense or something like that, like I still think it would be something where this would be addressed differently. And so they just throw him in this prison cell and that's it. It's just, okay. And now we think he's a bad guy.
Well, I love the sheriff. The old sheriff is like, oh, because he's at the jail and the sheriff's like, oh, looking at his pills. Oh, all these antipsychotics. You know what that means? People that take antipsychotics, they're psychotic. And that's all the evidence he needs that Kyle killed Ray. They throw him into jail, and yeah, I mean, that's it. And
they also mentioned that Kyle's had 3 suicide attempts.
Yeah,
can I just note that 3 suicide attempts? That's fucking pretty miserable. This poor fucking guy. 3 suicide attempts. I'm just learning this information about him. I mean, he seems pretty kind of like overwhelmed by the whole tooth fairy thing, but this guy doesn't seem like 3 suicide attempts in at this point. He also doesn't seem 22. He looks like a 47-year-old, but still, it's like I'd have no idea that this guy was through that level of lows prior to this.
I'm wondering if like they were real suicide attempts or if they were like attacks from Matilda that the hospital thought was suicide attempts, because we do see that she does scratch Michael's arms, like his wrists and stuff. So that could be it, because in my mind, when I heard suicide attempts, I kind of was like, no, this doesn't fit this character. I don't think this character of Kyle being like the survivor. Like he's so hell-bent on surviving. Like his whole life is revolved around having backpacks full of flashlights and stuff. I don't think he tried to commit suicide. I'm wondering if it was like that the hospital thought he was. Caitlin is there and she just like leaves him there. She doesn't try to comfort him. Did you notice that she just leaves him in the jail? Doesn't try to convince anybody that he probably didn't do it. She doesn't go over to him and is like, oh, I'll get you out of here. I'll do what I can. Nope. She just like leaves. She's like, oh, I got to go back to the hospital. Michael's there.
She just leaves. I mean, and then she has like that whole moment where she goes back and like they give her like one breath of humanity where she starts to break down in the car and like she starts to cry and you're like, oh, good. I'm finally getting something from Caitlin. And then you've got that fucking cat jump scare. What the fuck, man?
A cat jump scare, not even appropriate. She's just parked. Her car's parked in the hospital parking lot. It's the last place you would expect a cat jump scare. But yeah, all of a sudden this cat jumps on her fucking hood and it's like, ah! I was like, oh my God. So she goes into the hospital and she realizes like Michael's room is locked. And so she can't get in. They're all trying to get in. She finally breaks the door down. And when she gets in there, he's cowered in the shower with a flashlight because we do acknowledge that Kyle did give him a flashlight when they first met and told him that's your peace of mind. Hang on to it. So he does have the flashlight. So it worked for him, but we see him. He's bloody. His arm is scratched. His wrist is scratched. And he whispers to Caitlin, she's going to get me. Now,
yeah, it's one of the more effective visuals. And I'm not saying this movie's brimming with them, but this visual of the kid laying there with the cut down his arm, blood running down his arm, one of the few moments of blood handprint on the curtain, him just laying there with that flashlight. She starts crying over top him. It's one of the stronger moments, albeit very brief, that we get over the course of the film because it feels like there's actually some higher stakes for a brief second here.
For a brief second. And now the doctors want to they think that he's suffering psychotic breaks because he won't sleep. He's scared to sleep. So they say that they want to give him a procedure that's performed in the hospital. He doesn't have to leave. It's sensory deprivation chamber. So they're going to load this boy into a chamber, a dark chamber, and force him to face his fear, which is the dark. And then that'll miraculously cure him because he will realize there's nothing to be afraid of. And this seems like, is this really a real thing? Do they do this to people at a hospital? It seemed kind of wonky to me. She goes along with it. And I'm like, okay, stick this kid in a fucking chamber and shut the door. Okay, that's going to cure everything.
I mean, isn't that child just going to have a fucking panic attack? That's kind of like, oh, the kid can't swim, so throw him in a pool. I mean, I think this seems a little harsh. I think there's other ways to possibly go about this. And she even says, she's like, are there other ways we could go about this? And he's like, medication and therapy. And I'm like, well, that sounds reasonable. I mean, okay, that's fair, but they want a quick fix. And so sensory deprivation it is. And so that's clearly putting this kid in a very precarious position, especially because it seems like they're like, we're doing it right away. There's no time to pause here. Everything's moving real fast.
They don't even wait for the real doctor to do it. It's like this other guy's going to do it because when they get to the procedure, she's like, oh, you're doing it? Like, where's the other doctor? Oh, he's out of town. It's fine. I'm doing it. We do learn that Larry has gotten Kyle out of jail, which was nice. And Kyle doesn't even really acknowledge, doesn't say thank you. He just like storms out, heads across the street to the gun store where Larry's following him, wanting to know what's going on. Does Kyle buy any guns? No. What he does load up on are flashlights.
Well, he steals a gun.
He does steal a gun.
From
he sees it on the counter. We find out that he does take it.
I don't know if he could have actually bought a fucking gun with those meds he's on, you know? I mean, that's not explored, but he does definitely look down and take the gun because he pulls it on Larry here in a minute.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Kyle's like, Larry, you got to take me to the hospital. We got 20 minutes before it gets dark and we need to get there. So in the car, again, Larry's like, why'd you have to come back to town? I've been trying to get with Caitlin since you left. You realize how hard it was for me to get with Caitlin because all she could think about was you. And I was like, really? There's zero chemistry between the two characters, so I don't buy that. He then realizes that Larry is not taking him to the hospital because they drive by the Leaving Darkness Fall sign. And Kyle's like, you got to take me to the hospital right fucking now. Turn the car around. Larry's like, well, what if I don't? And he pulls that fucking gun out. And I thought, I was thinking, okay, this is really upping some stakes. Kyle's kind of turning into a badass. Literally, like 3 seconds later, fucking Matilda comes flying across the road and causes him to swerve and crash, slam into a tree. Fucking Kyle Roger barrels out of that fucking window 30 miles an hour. He doesn't have a scratch on him at the end of the day.
He would have died. There's no way you're telling me that in a real life situation, this man would have survived this violent car accident in which he's thrown through the window, he somersaults, and he's fine. He's up and running. And I mean, and also like this Matilda knocking cars off roads. She's like, I mean, she is dangerous. this woman, there are no rules. She is unhinged. She's pushing cars down ravines. Larry looks up and he's like, don't look at her. This is one of the few times that we hear anything about not looking at her. He's like, don't look at her. He looks up. She's floating over top him with that China doll mask on.
Oh.
And she grabs him and off into the night. Larry gets sucked away. It's just, yeah, it's like so fast. Like we were just starting to kind of get to know the character of Larry. And I understand there are sacrificial lambs, but this feels like a half-baked moment. This does not feel fully finalized. You're right. As soon as we get a moment where Kyle is upping the stakes, he pulls this gun out, he's trying to get things to turn in his direction, and she just comes in and she fucking ruins everything and kills Larry. And it's starting to fall into that trope too, where like, yeah, again, characters are getting just sucked off into the darkness, and you're starting to realize like, oh, we're not going to see any of this, are we? Like, we don't see anything about what happens to Larry. He doesn't drop down or anything, right?
No, he's taken away, and that's it. And before he dies and before they crash, he does tell Kyle that they are doing this treatment with Michael, where they're putting him in the darkness. And Kyle's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And his response is, we don't want him to be the next Kyle Walsh. I'm like, what a shitty thing to say. Again, especially with the whole lore of this town, like this should be well known. And I'm going to just keep harping on that point because it really makes the plot even more nonsensical than what it already, what it is in the first place. But so Kyle gets into the car and he hauls back to the hospital. And of course he gets there just in time. Well, actually he calls the hospital and asks to speak to Caitlin, and that nurse, she's like, she's not available. He's like, this is Kyle Walsh. Tell her I need to talk to her right away and tell her not to put Michael in the chamber. And the nurse, she hangs up on him all pouty. She calls the police instead. But I'm like, what are you calling the police for? And why are the police coming to arrest him when he was let out on bail? Like, it's not like he broke out. Larry got him out of jail on bail is what it sounds like. So now they're acting like he's a fugitive. It makes zero sense.
I feel like the nurse is a little put off by like the fact that he's so frantic. Like I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that Kyle is often manic, understandably so though. Like he's right, but he's often manic in that he's like, holy shit, we gotta fucking address this. We gotta address it now. And everybody else is kind of dismissive of him. And when he gets really elevated, they just call the police on him. So yeah, this gal, she gets what's coming to her, which is just getting pulled away into the darkness. But still, she gets what's coming to her. She calls the police. He shows up. We've got this whole bit coming up here of Michael getting sedated. And like he's getting put in like basically into like this, it looks like an MRI machine or something, like, right? Like he's getting put into this deprivation tank. And you tell me, Troy, how the fuck did that bitch get into that fucking MRI machine? How did she get into that deprivation tank? That's what it is. Because she's in there and you hear her and she's cackling and she's like, and the kid's getting fucking like slid into it, and you he's almost in. If I were her, I would just grab him and pull him in. I'd be like, oh, I could grab him from here, but she's just in there waiting Doesn't happen. They cheap out because Kyle shows up. But there's this moment where I remember this in the trailers where they're kind of playing this up as like this really intense moment. And I'm just like, for me at this point, I'm like, how did she get in there into that sensory deprivation tank?
I don't know, but Kyle shows up just in time, and of course he tells Caitlin to get Michael out of there. Do not let them do the procedure. They're leaving. When all of a sudden the cops come and they viciously slam him to the ground and arrest him. I want to know, like, what are you arresting him for? He didn't do anything. He did not escape jail. He literally was bailed out. But you're arresting him for no reason. And so he's dragged away, tells Caitlin to not let them put Michael in the dark again. So they take him back to the jail. Matt says, let's see your lawyer get you out of this one now. And Kyle's like, well, that's going to be kind of hard because my lawyer is in two pieces down the road. Is that a confession? Matt says. And Kyle takes the opportunity to tell him, you know what? You know that legend we've heard all of our lives that you people act like you have no clue what I'm talking about? It's real. I saw the Tooth Fairy. That's who's doing this. I looked at her. I'm one of the few people to look at her and not get killed. So she's been stalking me. And Matt responds by bashing the bars with his nightstick, saying, I figured you'd say something like that. And Kyle, there is a comment here that's made where Kyle's like, well, how many unsolved murders have you had around here? Well, apparently not very many because none of them act like there's any. It's just a weird interaction.
I just don't understand why they wouldn't want to make that specific aspect of the story more prominent. You know, even in retrospect, even just a few more lines of dialogue brought up in interactions. There's so many brief little interactions. The car ride with Larry. I don't know, something. Bring up the fact that after he disappeared, they did notice that kids were going missing and things like that. And it's, something you could have brought that up in the dialogue at so many different points just to kind of hit home a little bit more that this is something that people are aware of and they are intimidated by or scared of. And maybe people are in denial of it because it's such an urban legend, but still, like, just to bring it up in this throwaway conversation and barely touch on it again, it just feels like such an important thing to acknowledge about this town.
Yeah, I mean, one piece of dialogue. Oh yes, kids have died of, but the medical examiner just ruled that we have a high number of sudden infant death syndrome. I don't fucking know, but to act like it's not happening when literally the whole lore is when you lose your last tooth, you're going to be killed, but nobody else knows about it except Kyle and Michael. They're the only two. This old broad ain't doing her job very well because she's only got two people in the entire 150 years since this happened to her. But Matt tells him he's crazy, and just then you hear glass crashing. And so Matt is told to go check it out. The lights go out. There are some security lights that are out. He goes into the darkness, and we hear, and so does Kyle, we hear that fucking broad screeching and growling. And there's that moment where Matt drops his flashlight. It goes out. It's dark for a few seconds, and you think when he picks it up, we're going to see something we don't, because what happens is it cuts awkwardly back to the main area of the police station where all the cops are at, and you hear gunshots, and then you hear Matt scream. So everybody either rushes back to where he was, and we find out that he shot at a dog.
One of the cops' dogs, and you never even see the dog. You just find out that the dog has been killed, which is sad alone in concept. But okay, this unseen dog has been violently murdered. And meanwhile, you got this other cop who's just sitting there kind of making fun of Kyle. And Kyle is really, really trying to make sure people know to stay in the light. And nobody is listening about staying in the light. And so this moment literally goes as such. The guy's sitting there. He's like, ha, ha, ha. You believe in the tooth fairies or whatever. I'm making fun of Kyle. Kyle's like, stay in the light. The guy sees, I don't know, a shadow, I guess. She's always moving around the windows, this fucking broad. So she floats by. He's like, whoa, what's that? Holy shit. The cop gets up and walks out of the light. Kyle's like, stay in the fucking light. The cop just walks out of the light, and out of fucking nowhere, Matilda fucking Dixon, like a bat out of hell, swoops down grabs this guy and picks him up and takes him away somewhere into this cop's station ceiling. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a very high ceiling, but she's gone. He's gone. And the room is very dark. And that's all it is. He gets swept away. And it's like the setup here. She's just all of a sudden there and she's just picking people off. And it makes me think of the scene. And this is a film that is very much, I would say, it is a polarizing film, but and we're going to talk about a scene that's executed well, whether you want to like the film or not. There's a very similar cop station sequence in the film Jeepers Creepers. And that cop showdown sequence, regardless of the issues that I have with the director of the film, that sequence, when I first saw that film, I was like, holy fuck, this is a thought out, very very layered execution of killing all these cops off, because the one by one they're all getting picked off and each one is a moment. What happens here, this nonsense that occurs where she starts fluttering around like a fucking kite in a tornado, fluttering around and causing mischief. It's just it's almost seizure inducing watching this, and it's so sporadic and sloppy, and I really feel like I couldn't tell you what really happens after this guy gets pulled off into the darkness and they start shooting the lights out. I couldn't tell you how most of these people die. I couldn't tell you if they all died. I'm assuming they did because they just go away. But you just don't know. Aside from that one dame getting thrown through that glass frame, I don't really fucking know what happens as of this point moving forward.
Yeah, it's so frenzied, fast, frantic, edited, it's all those quick jumps that were really popular. It's almost like video game editing where everything's all I know is that the female cop's thrown through the glass, they're shooting out the lights. She's making them shoot out the lights. Kyle's like, quit shooting out the lights. She wants you to shoot out the lights. He does reach and grab the dead cop's keys so he can unlock the jail cell, and he basically saves Matt. Matt's getting ready. Poor sexy Matt's getting ready to be whisked away, but Kyle shows up just in time to shine the flashlight at Matilda, so she flies away. And he says, I got to get out of here. She's going after Michael next. So lights are also out at the hospital. So I think the lights in the entire city went out. Bad timing for this.
How did that fucking happen?
I don't know. It's not explained. I don't know.
Did she do it?
That's what I was wondering. Did she do it? Or are we supposed to, or is this just a bad coincidence?
There's a storm rolling in because it gets really windy and there's a full town power outage across the board. The timing is shocking, all things considered.
Yeah. Well, Michael won't come out from under the bed. Caitlin's trying to get him to come out. We do hear Matilda screech, that fucking screech. And Caitlin hears this, so she's like, fuck it, I'm getting under the bed with you, Michael. So she gets under the bed with Michael, and then all of a sudden, Matilda's on the fucking bed, slamming up and down, throws it off of them. The two have to take off bolting down the hallway. She's following, screeching, throwing a fucking fit. When she's approaching them, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Kyle's hand comes out of the fucking elevator and grabs Caitlin and Michael and pulls them into the elevator. Like, how he got there so fucking fast.
There's this whole chase sequence too, Troy, that feels really toss away because a lot of it is just sound design. Like between them getting first attacked in the one room and then chased to the elevator, she goes through they enter a closet. It's all sound design. You do see all these. I want to point out there's all these work lights. Like the power's out in the hospital, but there's still emergency lights. But the power is going down, is what you learn. They're on timers. They only have so much battery. And so they're running, and there are these emergency lights, and I'm kind of just stand there. Stand in the emergency light. Don't go anywhere. But she's swooping all around. She chases them through this closet. Nothing really fucking happens. And then, yes, the elevator door opens. There he is, heroic, holding a flare, gives us some nice dramatic lighting. He throws it at her. It feels like there was a lot of missed opportunities here. This whole bit of them under the bed, she just swoops by and all of a sudden she's on top of it. Give me a moment with Caitlin where she has her first realization that she's seeing this thing. Give me a moment where she's alone in the hallway and she's starting to suspect something. Caitlin has yet to have a moment where she has seen anything or believed anything to be true. And all of a sudden it's just thrown into her face. And I'm like, one of the great moments that we get in this genre, but specifically in like the paranormal, is the moments of realization when people start to realize they're in danger. And I just feel like it was really like her character. She's the female protagonist. Oh, you want to have a moment of terror specifically with her before she's just thrown into this frenzied moment where it's her and the rest of the group. She never gets to have that. Like, she never has an individualized moment. She never has a moment where it's just her and the ghost. And that just feels really disappointing for this character.
Well, they're in the elevator, and Matilda is attacking the elevator. She causes it to collapse, just to fall down and hit the bottom in there. So they're trying to pull the elevator doors open. They get them open, and we see that the doctor and the nurse are out there, and they help the three of them out. And then that other nurse, she just appears out of nowhere. So we got a doctor and two nurses now. The nurse is like, I what's he doing here? I called the police. And Kyle's like, well, that's not going to do any good. They're all dead. We need to get out of here. He's like, we need to get out of here quickly. And the doctor says, we need to evacuate the other patients. And Kyle says, no, we don't. They have not seen her. They'll be fine. They're after us. So they run down the hallway, and they have to like creep down this hallway to try to stay in the range of the security light. So you got first Kyle goes, then Michael goes, and then that fucking that nurse, that hefty nurse tries to go, and she steps into the darkness for a split fucking second, Roger. A split second, and she's fucking knocked down by Matilda swooping in.
But she couldn't have pulled him into the goddamn MRI machine earlier in the movie. But in this moment, this girl, for a split second, you're right. And then she's fucking down on the ground. She's injured. She's like a sack of potatoes. I got to touch on that line that you mentioned, because I really think this is irritating. In the middle of like this frenzied moment where these nurses and this doctor come out of nowhere, they're like reintroduced. Again, characters we've never had any interaction with aside from like the sensory deprivation room moment. And they were very minimal there. We've seen the one nurse, Lauren, a couple of times, but they're just there. And then Lauren comes in and she's like, what's wrong with you people? And she's just there. But these other people, I guess they saw, and we know the doctor saw Matilda because she was on top of the elevator. She looked down at him. She was menacing with her mask on. The other nurse, Dumpling nurse, I'm guessing she saw her too. Lauren didn't see her. So why are you luring this poor woman to her death? And then you're saying, well, these other people are fine. They didn't see her, so they're okay. Who are you to assume these fuckers haven't seen this ghost woman, these poor people, all these hospital patients who are also, there's no power. So how do we know that some guy's not on a ventilator and now he's dying? Like, they got jobs to do. But so no, they're going to fucking leave all the people in the hospital. They're going to go. They're going to do this whole like creeping through this alley moment.
This is a whole acrobat routine they're performing here.
It's very specific. And the lights are going off like on timers, so there's more and more darkness. They managed to make something both very boring and very rushed at the same time, because they're just kind of creeping along the wall and they're like, stay in the light. Stay in the light.
Yeah.
And then the light goes out and someone gets sucked away.
Yeah, the younger nurse, because when that older broad is laying on the floor injured, Caitlin's trying to help her, and that younger nurse takes the chance to try to get to the wall, but she steps into the dark. She's snatched away. So now you got 5 of them, including an injured older woman, that they're trying to drag through this hallway to stay in the light. They get to the staircase, and you find out that the only light on the staircase are on the landings. So they have to jump down flights of stairs to get to the landing. And, first Kyle takes Michael, and they make it. Roger, there was no way in hell that nurse was going to make it. There's
no way. The sacrificial lambs, these women literally have 2 lines each, and then they're tossed aside. And one thing, again, the Lauren, when she gets pulled away, like in the hands of a more masterful team, that could have been such a moment. Truthfully, there is something about the idea of people getting sucked away into the darkness. If you show it, There's one brief shot of her getting pulled away and you barely see it, but there's something cool there, but it's so fucking dark. I can't see anything. And that's one of my gripes here. This movie, when it gets dark, this ghost, this ghostly apparition woman is the color of the night sky with a white mask. So if anything, you see black movement and the white mask peeking through. At least when you see the one nurse get pulled away, you see the white of her uniform. But overall, half the time I can't see shit. And I mean, yes, it's darkness falls, but the amount of darkness in this movie is overwhelming. And so, like, some of these moments could probably be very cool, but I can't really see what's happening. That is a problem I really have with these later darker moments.
Yeah, I would say it plagues the rest of the film, honestly, because it just gets progressively worse where you're trying to see this villain. But then on the other hand, I will say, like, when you do see the villain, it looks so CGI that it's almost good that you don't see it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they jump down this landing. Of course, when the nurse tries to go, she swooped away right away. So now you got the doctor, you got Caitlin, you got Michael, and you got Kyle. And this thing is swooping around trying to get them all. When all of a sudden, a fucking car comes crashing through the front of the hospital, Roger. I have quite, like, how did Matt know that there weren't patients, like, being housed there, to try to get them out? He just comes barreling through the whole fucking front of the hospital.
When they jump down the steps, the doctor says, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." And then the doctor is in the car. Like, the doctor is in the vehicle. So I'm assuming the doctor told him.
That was stupid editing because I did not understand. I thought the doctor was like, I heard him say, "I'm getting the hell out of here." But then I thought that he got in the car with them because he was there. So the doctor ran out of the building. How did he get out? How did fucking Matilda let him get out? But she's snatching, burly nurses, right? I mean,
this is my problem where it's so hard to see, though, because he says he's going to get out of there, and then another one of those emergency lights goes out. And so there is that one moment where they're under the last beam of the emergency light, and she kind of floats around them, and you get like a pretty clear visual of her. And yes, CGI is bad for sure, but there are several shots in the film that they look green screened, but they don't look as bad as others. And I think this moment, as she kind of closes in on them, and she's kind of waiting for the light to go out, is actually kind of cool. And then the headlights come in, the car comes through the front. For a moment, it feels like it's trying to hit a frenzy. One thing I don't mind about this moment in the vehicle is at least it's starting to feel like, okay, now time is of the essence. Like, there's really no hope. We have to fight back. We have no defenses because she's fucking unstoppable. Like, let's be real. This woman, and her lust for teeth, this woman is unstoppable.
Yeah, but this final plan that's put into place by, let's acknowledge this, not even our protagonist comes up with this idea. Matt comes up with this idea, which I thought was a really weird plot twist, like a plot device. Like, you're not even letting the lead character who has lived his entire life battling this entity. And he even tells Larry at some point, or Matt later on in the film, that she's been with me my whole life. You're not even going to let him come up with the final plan to destroy her. It's Matt, because Matt's like, we're going to the lighthouse and we're going to get it to fucking work. And that light's going to shine on this bitch and we're going to go. So they literally start barreling towards this lighthouse when the doctor's like, no, we should just keep driving. It's safer in the car. Literally a second after he says that, he's fucking yanked out of the car by Matilda. And then she launches a nonstop barrage on this car. I don't know what the fuck is she flying through the windows? I can't tell because the editing is so choppy and I just know windows are breaking. She's screeching. You see her fly. I don't know what the fuck's going on. All I know is the doctor's gone.
Another bone to pick. One of many bones. This is a film full of bone picking. But you're in a cop car. You got interior lights and you got a fucking siren. Turn it on. I mean, like, you could turn it on. Turn on the fucking siren. But no, they don't. And when they finally, I think they mention it, but there she is, breaking fucking sirens and busting through windows. I mean, again, like, This woman can fly at a speed that you can't outrun. Somehow they manage, though, to get to the fucking lighthouse. That's their final destination in this film. But up to that point, she's able to catch up with the car. So eventually, the light gets shined in her face, and she gets thrown back into the sky. And they reach to the light. They finally get to the lighthouse. And another issue I have is this lighthouse. Like, we have seen it a couple times in photos. It has visually been somewhat a presence throughout the film in like cutaways and aerial shots. Aside from that, this lighthouse has no like symbolism. It doesn't represent anything. It's not where, I don't know, Caitlin and Kyle had their first kiss, or where she was burned alive or something. I mean, it's a cool location. It is like the set piece of the film, but it doesn't come into play until it has to, which is very much in theme with everything else we've seen before it. Everything that comes up in the story, every character that's introduced is simply just to tell this basic story and nothing more. And I really would have loved if this lighthouse had some form of attachment or symbolism to the story to have made this more impactful. Because right now they're just at a lighthouse and that's all it is.
It could have easily fit into the legend of her, right? You again, it's where they burned her. Oh, it's where the kids went missing for. I don't know. It could have been something, but yeah, we're just at this random lighthouse. They get out of the car, they get in, and then I mean, again, rushed. They get to they find the generator. They put the gas in it. They climb up to the top of the lighthouse to start the light. It works for about 10 seconds and then goes out. So Matt and Kyle have to go back down because Matt's like, you know what? It could be that the gas line to the generator is clogged. So let's go back down and get it. So they go back down the stairs, and Matt does see that there is a leak in the cord. So Kyle's like, I need to fix this. So he's like reaching over to try to fix it. The light is there's still a little bit of light. And Kyle turns up to Matt and said, Matt, stay in the light. Immediately, Matt snatched. Gone. Whoosh.
Oh my God. Oh, this made me so mad, Troy. Especially like Matt's character. Again, like none of the characters here feel fully fleshed out, but Matt's character was finally starting to like step up as like a secondary hero in a way. He saved them all. Like he had obviously he and Kyle had like been butting heads a little bit up to this point, but like he definitely had a character shift where now he's in on it with them and they're all working together. Like, why couldn't he have had more of a moment? I think if anyone deserved a moment, if they're going to go out like this, like he just gets pulled up through the staircase. You can barely see what happens. Kyle's like, stay in the light. And he just gets pulled away, and it just feels so anticlimactic.
I know. I was like, wait, really? That's how Matt is going to go out. Matt has kicked it up into hero level way more than Caitlin's worthless ass, or even Kyle. And they got a good bromance going on right now, and he's just yanked away. And then all hell breaks loose because Matilda like fucking comes barreling through the glass of the lighthouse, and she's attacking. And little Michael has to jump down to the next level. Matilda grabs fucking Caitlin and like is gonna like, I guess, tear her apart, but Kyle shines the flashlight at her and he lets Caitlin go, and she drops down, a couple flights and lands on that landing pretty hard. So now she's injured.
Instantly injured. Yeah. Caitlin has one moment where she gets her hands dirty, and within seconds, she is a lame duck. Now, the rest of this time, Kyle has to drag her around. Like, she can't even stand up. So she's not serving any purpose moving forward. It's not like she's going to have a final hero moment. She literally is like just like a detriment for the rest of the film.
And I mean, let's be honest. There's like 2 minutes left of the film. Yeah, he gets back up and he's able to start to turn the light back on to the lighthouse, and it literally hits Matilda and she screeches and like shrivels away. And there for like a split second, you do think, they're all relieved. Oh, we did it. But then all of a sudden, somehow she's alive because she grabs Kyle, lifts him up in the air, You get maybe a 30-second struggle where he's screaming, he's kicking the light. He actually knocks her mask off, and that porcelain mask falls to the ground and it breaks, but then teeth fall out of it. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
You know that mask is made of teeth. It's literally teeth, children's teeth that have been fused together. If you look at it,
it doesn't look like it.
Well,
because
it's teeth.
In shots, it's very smooth. It's very smooth.
It's teeth.
I never got any impression that was teeth. Then they need to work
lo
on.
and behold.
Well, when it falls, I was wondering like, why are teeth coming out of it? I don't know. There are several shots of the mask close up, and it does not look like teeth. It looks like a smooth porcelain mask. So they fucked that up too.
Yeah, they did. And let's this whole build up here, like, yes, this is extremely rushed because he gets grabbed, and you think for a moment, like, the villain always comes back. The villain always comes back. It's a trope. But when the villain comes back, like, you got to put a little bit of thought into it. When old girl gets pulled up into the light and she shrivels and there's all this CGI and she's glowing, her eyes are glowing, and she puffs into smoke because she's gone. And it's like, okay. And something's going to happen. But literally all that happens is like the light, like the lighthouse light, like, rotates, and she just comes on back. Like, she's just back. She grabs him, she flies up again, and he breaks the mask, and like the teeth go flying, which you're right. It doesn't look like it's made of teeth, but it is, I'm telling you. And then you get a brief, multiple seconds brief reveal of what Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever. What is her name? What's her name? Matilda Dixon. Yeah, equally horrified. Yeah. What Matilda Dixon, what she looks like. And I'm going to say this. You're telling me that you have had this whole time underneath that mask, you've been hiding this banshee woman, this very elaborate, grotesque Stan Winston creation, mind you. This individual, you're telling me that you've had this and you've been covering this with a porcelain tooth mask? You fuckers, how fucking dare you? Get rid of the mask. Just have her be a burned woman who's flying around. That is so much more effective than that blanket with a mask on it. Because really, listen, I'm like, oh my God, like, now I'm on board. And then she just, again, the light comes back and she does the same thing, but bigger. She turns into a CGI ball of smoke. Her eyes start lighting up and she erupts into the most elaborate display of digital effects. And it's like,
it's terrible.
So that's all we're going to see of her. And it's still not as good as the original design, which I will say, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but that design was so locked in that they even had there was an action figure, a McFarlane toy action figure of it created. Like that, like, I don't know how they got that far into the process and then pivoted to this. I'm really thinking and seeing this movie that a lot of things had to happen during the production that changed things, because truthfully, like, yes, okay, she looks great for about a second. She's got this really long skirt. She's covered in burns. She's haunting. And then she's gone. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, this is what horror fans want. But instead, you gave us this PG-13 schlop where there's barely any blood. And I saw there's no gore effects. There's no practical effects, nothing. And you finally give me something. And I feel like they could have only afforded them for one day to do that makeup. Something. Because it is so underutilized. I was enraged.
Yeah. I mean, it looks really cool. I mean, it's when she like starts screeching and you just, that whole horrifically burned face. He's like, I see you, you bitch. And he does, like, doesn't he light his arm on fire or something and then hit her with it? And then it pushes her back into the light. And she fucking shrivels away screaming. And then they're all like huddled together and they're like, oh, we're safe. And you think I thought I was going to get, okay, we're going to have, a year later and, him and Caitlin are going to be together and they're putting Michael to bed and you're going to have the closing scene be her coming back. That's what I was expecting. We don't even know if Michael, Caitlin, and what becomes of them. We don't even know if Kyle and Caitlin stay together. He probably goes back to Vegas. He's here right now. I should probably go look for him. It's just, we don't know. And so like when you get this post credits, or not even a post credit scene, it's not a post credit scene. When you get this ending, I was like, what the fuck is this? It's literally some random little boy we've never seen named Billy. His dad's putting him to bed, and he just lost his last tooth. So the dad puts the tooth under his bed and tells him, don't peek. So little Billy, his dad tucks him in, leaves the room. Little Billy like starts falling asleep. He hears something in his room, and he jolts awake, and he's looking around, and he's like, Tooth Fairy? And it's his fucking mother. She's there to give him a hug and a kiss. And the film ends with her putting coins under his pillow. And that's it. He's not attacked. I mean, that's it. That's it.
Are they telling me, Troy, that what we just witnessed, what just transpired here, is how the legend of the Tooth Fairy came to fruition? Is this like what this wrap-up is supposed to be to me? Because it is completely removed from the story we just witnessed. These characters, I've never seen them before, and I'll never see them again. And I'm all the better for it. But the characters we did, I guess, become attached to, not really. The characters who were prevalent throughout the storyline, no idea. Did Caitlin lose her leg after that horrible fracture? Did Michael ever sleep again? Did Kyle, I don't know, have third-degree burns after lighting his arm on fire and punching that woman? None of this. I get no closure. Give me something. Give me a wrap up. Did anyone in the town survive? Is the town massacred? Give me something. Give me something. Give me a shot of them walking out of the fucking lighthouse. But to cut to this sequence of this random child and his unnamed parents, who I have no idea who they are. I don't even know if they live in that same fucking town. For this to be the note we end on, how fucking dare they? I was so mad. I did not remember this at all. I like I said, it's been years since I've watched this movie, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then those goddamn credits, Troy, with that goddamn 12 minutes of rock music that I don't ever want to hear again.
I want to say, hey, I'm fine that the movie's short. I mean, the movie has two things going for it: the hot male lead and its short running time. It's brisk running time.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, you sexy man. The thing, like, I was watching it, and I'm watching my timer, and when you press play, the movie says that's an hour and 25 minutes and 42 seconds. The credits literally start playing at 1 hour and 9 minutes. And I was like, wait, there's still supposed to be 14 minutes of the film left. So I was watching the credits. I was like, wait, are we going to get a post credit scene? No, it is literally 14 minutes of credits. Literally. They couldn't give us a proper, we couldn't see that old broad come back and whisk this boy and his mom onto the bed at the end. We couldn't get any imagery of of poor Marjorie Dixon Green being burned at the stake. And we couldn't see any of that, but we can have 14 minutes of credits.
And then when you have that opening fucking like prologue, when you think about that narrative that we learn about Meredith Dixon, and like really, again, while it's an urban legend, like doesn't play into the storyline at all. Like it very well, she could have just been like unnamed Spectre. Like her lore doesn't weave itself into the story that much, because again, we talk about the fact that no one's really acknowledging it except for Kyle. You've got that big opening chunk, and then that, like, overall, you get like an hour and 5 minutes of movie here. And it feels that way. Like, this is a film that really feels just so bare bones. And I said earlier, it feels like it's an autopilot, but it's an autopilot without taking any time to enjoy the scenery. Like, visually, like, while it's very dark, it's not like it's an incompetently shot film. Like, there are some pretty moments, there are some artistic choices. I may or may not agree with them, but at least it's like some idea of how to create a cinematic style. But it's completely just wasted, because none of the moments that should have been allowed to breathe or build or develop suspense ever get to do that. And so it is disappointing, because again, this movie has a lot of nostalgia. I had a blast watching it. Like, I'll say, like, I was laughing my ass off. I thought it was fun as hell. But truthfully, like if like you see a lot of fans of the genre in my age range who like look back on this movie and are like, it's like an unsung masterpiece, and I'm like, like I'm not gonna to each their own. I'm not gonna challenge you on that per se, but I might say like revisit it again and watch it again, and like let me know what you think. Like truthfully, sit down with this movie and watch this and pit it up against something like The Ring. And from a narrative standpoint, like does it hold a candle? I don't think you can say it does. It really is lacking in several major aspects that are required to make a movie good.
It really feels like they filmed the first draft of a script. Like somebody wrote a script and they filmed it without any revision, without anything. This is the first draft. They went with it. I think, I tried to have fun with the movie. I really did, because I do know that it's held in high regard by a lot of horror fans of a certain generation, certain age. So I tried to have fun with it. But to be honest with you, I just couldn't, because I couldn't get past some of the glaring plot holes, and I could not find myself really caring about any of the characters. Yes, the actor who plays Kyle is gorgeous, but there's not much to his character. He has one emotion throughout the whole film, and then you surround him with an even wetter blanket in the form of Caitlin, and I don't care about these characters. And again, things happen for no reason other than we have to move the plot along. There's no logistical reason why some of this shit happens. It just happens because it needs to happen, because we have to move this plot along. Like Caitlin calling Kyle, Ray being so antagonistic towards Kyle. It's just like the stuff is it's elementary screenwriting. It really is.
And I do want to acknowledge, I mean, like, Troy, one thing that is very much acknowledged about this film, aside from the design of the tooth fairy being changed and so forth, like, this is, like I said, this is a film that really lost a lot of its spirit, I think, on the cutting room floor. And this is a time where I think a lot of production companies were stepping in and making choices that were not for the betterment of the actual piece of cinema itself. So this is a film that I do know had a lot of changes made and a lot of material cut. And I do know that Kyle originally had a lot more backstory. It was a lot darker. Um, Even Matilda's story in general, like I do know like that elements of that were changed. I've never seen the original script. I don't know much about that, but I do know that a lot of the story was cut out of the final draft. So I would be so curious. I would be so fucking curious to see an original cut of this movie just to see what was lost, because you can see the plot holes. You can see where they removed them. You can see when certain major sequences needed more to fully flesh out and operate, and they're just lacking those notes, those elements that would have made them feel fully functional and just complete. And I really yearn for that, because I do think that there are moments of this film that could have been really, really awesome. And I think it was just something that had to do with, truthfully, like studio meddling. And I hate when that happens. And that did happen so much in like the early 2000s, 2010s. Like how many times did we see production companies stepping in? Think about the Black Christmas remake, down to the trailers having random footage filmed for them. That's how shit worked then, and still to this day. But really, then it was notorious. And this is a film that I just think suffered a lot and lost a lot of its soul on the editing room floor.
Which is too bad. I know that the film, looking on IMDb, it has a 5 out of 10, which is actually, I think, really high. And the critical consensus, though, is pretty low. It has a really low Metacritic score. But it was a box office success. It made like 3 times its budget back. So again, I do know that the film is held in high regard. And I think it just has to do with, like you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, nostalgia. We all have a special place in our hearts for films that we saw as young horror fans that kind of were early entries into our horror libraries, right, of what we watch. So I can see why people would like this film. It just did not work for me at all. It just did not. That's all I'll say. So on that note, guys, We want to know your thoughts on Darkness Falls. If you're someone who enjoys the film, let us know why. Before you rip into us, watch it again. I do ask you to do that. I do not want people to come at us because of their nostalgic feelings. I want you to watch the film again, and then if you feel the same way about it, then you can come at us, right?
I'm one of you guys. I'm one of you. I came into this, I hadn't seen it for years, and I thought I was really going to be adoring this flick. And I, again, nostalgia does prevail, but still, do I think this is a good film? Personally, I think it's got a lot of fucking weaknesses. So, keep in mind, I feel you on this, but definitely sit down and watch it again.
Yeah. And if you agree with us, head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and say why. With that, we're going to wrap up quickly by me revealing my pick for next week, which I have not told you, Roger, right? But I know what it is, and it's been if I showed you my list of films that I've want to cover, it's been at the top since we started this podcast. I just never got to it, but I felt like it's going to pair well with this film in a small little way, and it's that the antagonist is also a burn victim.
Can I try to call
Yeah.
what the film is?
Yeah.
Is it The Burning?
It is The Burning.
Oh my God. I've never seen it, right?
I know. That's why I picked it.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought, you know what? I'm going to go with another film where the antagonist is a burn victim, but it's going back to my roots, my nostalgia roots, because it is an 80s slasher flick and probably one of the, outside of Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, probably one of the more revered camp slashers. Yeah. You've never seen it, so I'm super excited for you to check it out. I know that there's a lot of fans of the film, and it does a few things that really, I think, were groundbreaking for the genre at the time, and we'll talk about that next week. So, guys, next week we are discussing The Burning. Roger's finally popping his burning cherry because I know it's been forever since we've talked about this film and you've never seen it. So I'm super excited.
Well, and I will say it's on the top of my list too, because I've never seen it. And I was like, this is one that I really want to save for an episode. I purposely put it off. So if you weren't going to pick it soon, I was. So yeah, it is time. How exciting.
The Burning, guys. Yes, we'll have some fun things to say about that. But with that, let us know your thoughts on Darkness Falls, and we will be back next week.
We will. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.